China may have built more missile silos than previously thought. Here's what you need to know. The scale and speed of construction at possible missile silo fields in China suggests its government is putting significant resources into developing its nuclear capabilities, with a new Federation of American Scientists report increasing an estimate of the total number of new silos being built from the 229 described in a previous report to 300. The new report is careful to state that it is not certain what is in the silos, but says there is increased confidence that they are related to the People's Liberation Army Rocket Force's modernization program, and based on commercially available satellite images, it describes significant progress on construction since the earlier report in July. It also describes how China appears to be experimenting with different types of shelters at the 3 silo field sites near Yumen, Hami, and Ordos in north-central China. Before concluding that although China is currently still far behind the US and Russia's total nuclear arsenal, the new silos could see China's total intercontinental ballistic missile force exceed that of either Russia and the United States in the foreseeable future. CNN describes these developments as a possible shift away from China's previous minimum deterrence policy. That policy means China keeps its nuclear arsenal at the minimum level necessary to deter an adversary from attacking, and has seen the Chinese develop just 1/10 of the nuclear weapons that Russia and the US have, alongside a no first-use policy. Nicholas Burns, the Biden administration's nominee to be the US ambassador to China, said last month that the Chinese are blasting past that definition, while Benjamin Friedman, policy director of Washington-based think tank Defense Priorities, said we shouldn't take the development of more missiles necessarily as a different approach on the Chinese part. It might just be that they think the same approach takes more weapons than it used to. For decades, China has operated around 20 silos for its liquid-fueled ICBMs, called the DF-5. Now it appears to be building 15 times more, possibly for housing its newest ICBM, the DF-41, according to the previous Federation of American Scientists report. China has test-launched a new submarine-launched ballistic missile named the JL-3. China's Defense Ministry told the Global Times in a conference on June 27th that the UFO sightings earlier that month was the result of a test launch conducted in the Bohai Sea. According to the Global Times, the missile was observed by Chinese netizens in Shandong, Shanxi, Hebei, and Henan. Jane's 360 reported that the trajectory was consistent with a flight path toward the desert areas in the west that China uses for missile tests. The PLA Navy gave partial confirmation of the launch with a Weibo post that said, "Do you believe in UFOs too?" The National Interest reports that the JL-3 features a multiple warhead design capable of carrying China's hydrogen bombs. An unnamed source told the South China Morning Post that the finished JL-3 will achieve a range of 9,000 kilometers. According to the National Interest, the completed missile will be able to reach Washington, D.C. when fired by a submarine. The South China Morning Post reported that the missile has a shorter range than the U.S. Trident II because China has not made significant breakthroughs in submarine design.
With Beijing continuing to test new weapons that could be deployed in a matter of years, pressure is growing within the U.S. to develop countermeasures. China successfully conducted a flight test this week for its new DF-ZF hypersonic glide vehicle, launching it atop a ballistic missile from Ujai in northern China. The vehicle, which could carry a nuclear payload, was carried to the edge of space where it separated from its launcher. Current U.S. defenses rely on satellite and ground radar to track and intercept missiles that travel along a predictable flight path. But the DF-ZF, which reportedly travels at speeds between Mach 5 and 10, or 3,836 to 7,680 miles per hour, may be able to defeat current defenses due to its maneuverability and high speed. From Shanxi province, the hypersonic vehicle glided to an impact range several thousand miles away in western China. This latest launch is the 6th time China has conducted a flight test of the DF-ZF in the past year.
China is reportedly close to deploying their first serious sea-based nuclear deterrent. The nuclear weapons will be placed aboard Jin-class submarines, the newest subs in China's fleet. Called the JL-2, the missiles themselves are similar in size and power to the United States' Trident C-4. Each Jin-class submarine is expected to carry at least 12 of the JL-2 missiles. There are currently believed to be 4 Jin-class submarines in existence capable of carrying this type of nuclear payload. The missiles, if launched just off the eastern coast of China, would put all of Europe and most of the western US in its 8,000-kilometer targeting range. The Chinese submarine fleet currently consists of 4 Jin-class subs, 5 nuclear-powered conventional attack subs, and 53 diesel-electric-powered subs.
A quick quiz question for you. Faced with a rise in radiation above safe levels in the area around a nuclear power plant, what should you do? Should you A. calmly raise the alarm, find the cause and fix it? B. change your definition of safe levels and deny anything is wrong? If you answered A, you're one of those boring, sane people. If you answered B, you might just be working for China's National Nuclear Safety Administration. Here's what you need to know. There is an imminent radiological threat at Taishan nuclear power plant in China's Guangdong province, according to CNN, citing a memo from French company Framatome, which part owns and operates the plant. Documents sent to U.S. officials by the company have also accused China's National Nuclear Safety Administration of raising its own acceptable limits for radiation leaks into the surrounding area to avoid the plant being shut down. In a separate statement, Framatome's parent company, EDF, explained there had been an increase in the concentration of xenon and krypton gases in the primary circuit of reactor number 1 at Taishan, according to Reuters. These elements have radioactive qualities. According to CNN, EDF described production of these gases as a known phenomenon caused by a degradation of the housing of the fuel rods. They added that this housing is the first of 3 barriers between the rods and the outside. Taishan is the first plant in the world to operate a next-generation EPR nuclear reactor, a design that has been subject to years of delays elsewhere, according to The Guardian. A 2018 report by FactWire detailed an array of problems at the site. As of May 30th, radiation around Taishan had reached 90% of what was already a revised limit, according to a Framatome memo to the U.S. Department of Energy, cited by CNN. The memo suggested that the Chinese plant operator may now be pushing for China's National Nuclear Safety Administration to further increase the plant's shutdown limit. A statement published on the plant's website, Sunday Night Local Time, said environmental readings for the plant and its surrounding area were normal, according to CNN. What's more, publicly, Framatome has issued a carefully worded statement saying that according to the data available, the plant is operating within the safety parameters. But you don't have to be a nuclear physicist to see that this is dodgy territory. In fact, you don't have to be much of anything for 3 reasons. Number 1, Framatome's warning was sent to the U.S. Department of Energy, asking to be allowed American technical assistance in order to resolve the issue. A message like this is of course not going to go down well with their business partners in China, and so isn't a decision taken lightly. Number 2, Framatome's own message described the situation as urgent. The situation is an imminent radiological threat to the site and to the public, and Framatome urgently requests permission to transfer technical data and assistance as may be necessary to return the plant to normal operation. Its memo read, "We have to presume that nuclear power plant operators do not just throw around words like imminent and urgent for fun." And number 3, most importantly, if you look closely at the plant's claim that the radiation levels are normal, you'll notice that it's potentially meaningless if you're prepared to just change what your definition of normal is. According to the Framatome memo, China's National Nuclear Safety Administration has revised its radiation level limit to more than double its initial figure. And the conclusion from the French operating company to the U.S. Energy Department was, this increases off-site risk to the public and on-site workers. The extent of that risk remains unclear, and according to the BBC, the xenon and krypton were released into the atmosphere deliberately, not by accident. However, the fuel rod issue that caused the buildup of those gases poses questions for the plant, and simply changing safety limits in order to cover that up is a dangerous game to play. Furthermore, it adds to suggestions of a somewhat lax approach to safety at the site, going back to before it opened. According to FactWire, after weaknesses were found in the French-designed reactor vessel heads used at the plant, China's National Nuclear Safety Administration only required the plant to develop a testing method for its own reactor vessel head as soon as possible. We don't know about you, but here at TomoNews we use the phrase "as soon as possible" for things like ordering lattes, not for checking if our nuclear reactor's working. What's more, in the months before the plant opened in 2018, the very same National Nuclear Safety Administration published a separate inspection report cited by FactWire, which listed 20 areas in which Taishan could improve. It may well be that some of these are normal teething issues that always occur before any major construction opens, and the report was obviously designed to eliminate them. But once an authority has agreed to double its idea of safe limits on radiation, it's probably not unreasonable to question some of their other decisions too. China is planning to build 20 floating nuclear power plants in the South China Sea. Construction for the first one starts this year. According to Asia Times, Chinese authorities have officially announced plans to start building the first floating nuclear power plant in the South China Sea. These are designed to power surrounding artificial islands being built in the region. Floating nuclear power plants are offshore platforms containing small nuclear reactors built to power hard to reach islands or islets. Roughly 20 floating nuclear stations could be built to power troops and residents in the Spratlys and Paracel Islands. These regions are disputed between China, Taiwan, Malaysia, the Philippines, and Vietnam. Asia Times reports that the first floating nuclear reactor will be functional and seaworthy by 2021. A prototype is currently being tested off the coast of China's Shandong province. According to Chinese state news agency Xinhua Net, the first floating nuclear power platform would cost roughly $2.1 billion.
For more news animations and explainers, hit the subscribe and bell button to join the TomoNews family. Thanks for watching.